Welcome back to Seacoast High School's remote trigonometry class. My name is Eric Fearing. I use he, him pronouns. Most of the students just call me Mr. Today we're working on Competency 1 benchmark number 2. Benchmark 2 is to label a right triangle's sides as opposite, adjacent, and the hypotenuse with respect to a specific acute angle. In the last video, we talked about labeling an opposite side to a specific vertex so that we would name each of the sides after the angle across from them. We're going to expand on that today, where we're going to use that principle of labeling what's across to label as much as we can, specifically in a right triangle. So a right triangle is always going to have a 90-degree corner somewhere. And what's across from that already has a name you almost certainly learned in middle school, which is the hypotenuse. So when we're talking about a right triangle, we have two legs, which we're going to label as either opposite or adjacent, and a hypotenuse, which is going to be the hypotenuse no matter which other angle we're concerned about considering. So let's talk from the perspective of the top left corner. We'll call it angle A. From here, we already have the hypotenuse fixed because we knew where the right angle was. We've got two other sides. One of them is what we call opposite angle A, and that's the one we would label with side length little a. If we trace across the triangle, that's going to be the base as it's drawn here, is the opposite side. And then our third side is what we call the adjacent leg, because it touches angle A. The hypotenuse and the adjacent leg form each of the two acute angles in a triangle. So there we have it. From the perspective of angle A, or relative to angle A, these are the way the sides would be labeled in this triangle. The opposite is on the bottom, and the adjacent is the left-hand side. We can look at a triangle that looks essentially the same, but from the perspective of the other acute angle, we'll call this one angle B, we still know the hypotenuse is the horizontal side because it's the longest one, it's across from the right angle. But now, where before the opposite side was on the bottom, B is on the bottom, so the side opposite B is over here on the left, which means the base will be adjacent to B. If we overlaid these two things, the hypotenuse would remain the hypotenuse, but the opposite side for B is adjacent to A, and the adjacent side to B is opposite angle A. We're going to use these to talk about the relationships between the three sides of a triangle as we go forward, but for now we're just trying to make sure we can label them specifically so that we all agree that according to angle A, we have the adjacent leg, the opposite leg, and the hypotenuse. When we do the problem set for this benchmark, the questions are going to be phrased something like, how is the side marked X related to angle A? So I've got two examples here we can walk through. Angle A in this first example is the bottom left. So I'll color that in orange. And I can recognize immediately the hypotenuse is the one across from the right angle. It's along the bottom. And this is really the same work we did in the previous benchmark where, okay, X is across the triangle. It's definitely opposite. X is opposite angle A. Would be a full and complete answer. If we wanted to label the whole triangle, which I'm going to do because I'm a math teacher, that leg would be adjacent, and that side is the hypotenuse. Example 2. Angle A is now the top left-hand corner, the way this triangle is oriented. We should be pretty good at finding the side across from it, so we would label that as opposite. We should be pretty good at finding the hypotenuse. So X is the adjacent leg. It's obviously not the hypotenuse, and it does form angle A at that vertex, so maybe you don't need to label all three in order to label adjacent, but I think it's a good idea to label all three of them, and then as you're asked questions about it, to go back and consider which sides we're supposed to think about. But more on that as we go forward. The answer to this example 2 would just be that x is adjacent to angle A. All right, so today you've learned how to label the sides of a right triangle as opposite and adjacent with respect to a specified acute angle, and reviewed how to label the hypotenuse as well, so we can label all three sides. Good luck. As always, I'm available Tuesdays and Thursdays for office hours, and you can get in touch via Google Voice, text, or email. Thank you.